Welcome back to episode 3 out of 4. In this quadruple episode of Excellent here, we talk about the leadership heartset. And hello and welcome back, Marc Inzelstein.
Thank you, Niels. So good to be back with you.
So you talk about the leadership heartset. Let's face it, 99% of the talk is about mindset. You need to have the right mindset. You need to be in the right mindset. Every challenge needs a certain mindset. Mindset is all over the place, and it seems to be the genuine key to everything now, and especially inspirational speakers do not get tired of talking about the right mindset. So, what actually is the leadership heartset?
Great question, and thank you for asking that. So the heart set is, in my opinion, the at least as important as the mindset. It's the other part of the human. Our minds, our brains, our intellects are extremely important. We use them all day long, every day, and they play a vital role in our lives and organizations. But the heart is what makes us human. When we forget the human, then organizations become meaningless and empty, and eventually become full of activity, but with no actual internal intrinsic reward. Because as humans, we need meaning in our lives, and meaning comes from the heart. So the heart set is not there to substitute the mind, it's there to complement the mind. It's there to tell the mind, okay, if you're going to be thinking and analyzing, what place are you doing it from? Are you doing a place that's grounded in your values? Are you doing it from a place that's grounded in meaning, that's grounded in purpose, that's grounded in humanity? And so the heart set is there to make sure that when we lead and when we execute strategy and when we are creating ideas and products and all sorts of things, that it's rooted in the place that is human, so we don't veer off track and actually do something that creates value for the humans in this world. That's ultimately why we do everything. We're a world populated by billions of humans, and ultimately our job, I think, no matter what we do, is to create value for other human beings. Without the heart, we can lose track of that very quickly.
Excellent. And in this context, you also talk about something you call emotional coherence. We talked about coherence before regarding leadership and executive teams. So, what do you mean by emotional coherence in this context?
So, emotional coherence is basically the actual physiological state of your heart. So, I don't want to get too technical on this, but our heart emits an electrical signal. When we're stressed, when we're fear-based, when we're worried, that signal is distorted. And what's fascinating is that signal can be picked up by the people next to us even before we open our mouth. If you and I are sitting in a meeting together, within a few minutes, I'll be feeling, without knowing it, what you're feeling. If you're feeling good, if you're happy, if you're centered, I'll be feeling comfortable. If you're stressed, angry, I'll start feeling uncomfortable even before you open your mouth. Now, leadership is a transmission, in my opinion, a transmission of state. If a leader is in a good state, if that heart is coherent, if it's carrying the right level of energy, positive emotion, hope, trust, empowerment, these positive feelings, the person next to you is going to feel that. And that emotional coherence is something that's transmitted again before the leader even opens their mouth.
Excellent. And when we now talk about this emotional coherence, I actually ask leaders on C-level and the two levels below that, and said, what do they think about that? So many people said they think it's perfectly important. And then the second part of the phrase often was, but my CEO cares about the numbers. Or they say, we have more KPI meetings than human talks in this organization. Or, and I quote word by word, my leader said that these emotional things end up from team leaders level. These are statements by people who are right now leading organizations internationally. So, human connection and leadership, how do we actually get this in place beyond the motivational talk of saying, oh, it's all so important, and now let's get to the profit and income statement, profit and loss statement, income statement, cash flow statement. So, how do we get the human connection in place in a world where, when we look at the final result, the bank and the shareholders are going to ask you for profit and loss statement, cash flow statement, income statement, and maybe the stock price if you're lucky?
Yes, it's a fantastic question. And it's an absolute reality that most organizations face today. Many CEOs sit in that place, especially the public companies. They're looking at their quarterly reports and their stock price, and they're held accountable by their board of directors. So it's a reality that we have to deal with. So the my experience with this, Niels, is that it's actually misunderstood that the soft stuff, what they call the soft stuff, the emotional part of the human can lead to a distraction from the numbers. Actually, it's quite the opposite, because when you're emotionally coherent, when you're focused on the emotional part of the human being, you're actually much better equipped to perform. So The studies show us that when your heart is in a place of gratitude, of optimism, of joy, your mind functions significantly better. It's an actual, real, scientifically proven pathway between the heart and the brain.
Hmm.
And when the heart is in a good place, the brain is in a much better place. So we actually are much more equipped to think. Again,
And
it
probably
goes
we
back
all
to,
felt that in certain times in our life where we thought, I think at that moment, because of something that happened in my private life, I wasn't in a good place in the business as well. I think we all can relate to that very quickly. If you
yes,
know the science or not, we all know these moments where you think, maybe I didn't do too well personally, and that's maybe because I didn't do too well in the business and vice versa.
that's exactly right. I mean, we've all had that time where we've had an argument with our significant other. We show up to work, we're not in a good place. That spreads to our team. We can't think, we can't function. So we know even from our experience, without going to the science, our experience tells us that's true. The other thing is that when your eye is on, if you think about sports, when your eye is on the scoreboard, you can't be in the game, right?
Yeah.
Looking at the Wimbledon final, if all the player's doing is looking at, is it 6-3, 6-4, what's the score? The game is lost already. But to win the
Yeah.
game, that's with heart. That's the emotional component. So being in the game means, yes, the numbers are important, but I need to focus on doing my job well, with meaning, with purpose, with inspiration. And when I do that, the numbers will take care of themselves. And I do think a lot of executives are caught in that predicament. My advice is you have to be able to let go of the scoreboard so you can focus on the game, and the game needs to be played with heart.
And that also means that probably in executive qualification, we need something more than we do today. Because let's face it, most executives say at a certain point, I'm going to do my MBA. And many people say, look, I'm going to do the smart pick. So I take something like MBA in finance, digital transformation, and international business, because that's what we need. And
Yes.
then they try to build their career. So we need something on top of that, which goes more in the direction of soft factors.
I completely agree. I think in every profession today, and of course for organizations and leadership, it's critical. If you're doing international finance or international marketing, whatever it is, there should always be a series of courses on how do you maximize your own internal resources? How can you remain resilient in the face of the complexity we're facing today in organizational world? How can you become an engaging, inspirational, meaningful leader? These things are absolutely essential. I think, and the world we're stepping into now with AI and with the complexity we're facing is more important than ever. I think it needs to be a core part of every curriculum.
Yeah. Absolutely perfect. And one aspect which is important here seems to be hope. And here's a little
Yes.
teaser. We have one more episode for you where we're going to talk about hope in leadership. So stay tuned for episode number 404, which we're going to start in a minute. And now there's only one thing left for me to say for this episode. Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Niels. Appreciate it. Thank you.